Hi, everyone. My name is Isaac Galef Brown. I'm the Director of Outreach for Thinking Beyond Borders. We're a gap year organization that's been around for about 12 years now. And it's great to follow up from Erica because Winterline is another sister gap organization of ours. We're kind of under the same umbrella holding company as Domain and Winterline. So there's both great opportunities as well. They're just kind of offering different approaches to the gap year market. And Thinking Beyond Borders does as well. So before I kind of jump into talking a little bit more about that, I just want to briefly kind of acknowledge the strange and pretty unsettling times that we live in right now. COVID-19 happening, a lot of racial unrest and protests happening around the country. And then on top of all that, all the uncertainty that I know a lot of folks are feeling that I've been speaking with recently. Uncertainty within higher education, within the gap year field, just a lot of unanswered questions and people trying to figure out what their plans are. So at the very, least, I hope this session will be helpful for those folks and just kind of transparently putting out what options are for next year and providing some forms of guidance surrounding those issues. So to jump into it, Thinking Beyond Borders, I'll talk a little bit about who we are and what we do before I actually address what's on the slide and talk about our specific program options. But the way I think about it, Thinking Beyond Borders programs, we operate at the intersection of a number of different core program elements. The first one is deep cultural immersion opportunities, which we offer through allowing our students to live in pairs with homestay families and offering several local language instruction lessons per week. So there's a really big emphasis on spending time in community abroad and really getting to know folks while you're there in relationship building. The second element is experiential learning alongside local experts within the fields of farming, teaching, and shadowing public health workers. The third is providing innovative curriculums that are taught by professional educators who are program leaders. They have master's degrees and minimum of 3 years teaching experience, as well as time traveling abroad. And those curriculums kind of mirror, work in tandem with those same fields that we have our students learning in. So we have curriculums on environmental justice and sustainability that go hand in hand with that farming experience. We have one on educational empowerment and oppression, which go along with working with local school teachers. And we also have a curriculum on public health that goes hand in hand when our students partner with public health officials. So all that is to say, we kind of approach educational topics from two different angles to allow for a number of different types of learners to really gain from our programs. The last real kind of core component of our programs is that we offer a lot of meaningful personal growth opportunities, which include developing cross-cultural competencies, gaining a sense of identity, purpose, and direction. There's a really big mentorship component in that. So each one of our students is partnered with one of our program leaders for the duration of the program. And there's a big community element of it as well. So even though we do kind of pair off our students and have them living in homestays for about 65 to 70% of the program, our students are still seeing all their peers and their program leaders multiple times throughout the day. And I think it kind of provides a lot of structure and space for those growth experiences. All that being said and done, those are really great program components to have, but what makes Thinking Beyond Borders truly unique, I think actually lies somewhere else within our organization's mission, which is to empower students to address critical global issues. That can mean a lot of different things. So that really spans the spectrum. So that can include a variety of topics from climate change to issues of racial injustice and inequity in the United States, like what we're seeing this past week. So we really try to use travel as a powerful tool to let our students gain a deeper understanding both of ourselves and the world we live in. We design our programs to facilitate that learning process while providing our students with the motivation and the support they need to engage with these relevant topics that they're passionate about, because ultimately we want this learning process to be student-driven and quite different from a typical classroom experience that they might have. So just to kind of give kind of an overall, our students travel within cohorts from day one of the program all the way through the end with the exact same other students and the same program leaders. We put a cap on our program cohort size of 18 students. So usually it's going to be somewhere between 12 and 18. And they would be traveling with 2 to 3 program leaders throughout the duration of the program. So to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about this quote unquote successful student profile, the way I look at it is which types of students are gain the most from our program and what do we look for in the application process. At the surface level, our Applications are open for students who are age 17 to 20 who have graduated from high school. We are open to students who have completed up to 1.5 academic years of college. So most of our students come straight out of high school, but some are a little bit older and have transitioned to college, but for whatever reason are taking a gap year at that point. Having run the admissions process for our organization for a while now, I would say it's pretty open in terms of what we look for but I really look for students who have kind of curiosity to the world and just general interest in learning, who are open to new experiences. And a couple of important things to mention, we have a pretty limited tech and substance policy on our program as well, which is really to kind of structure that learning space again and take away a lot of distractions that might take students away from engaging deeply in all aspects of the program. But I see a number of different categories of students who are looking at gap year programs. Some are burned out from formal education. Some are kind of seeking more purpose and direction. Perhaps they have specific interests in going to a specific part of the world, learning a specific language. But I think because we approach education from a number of different angles, our program is ultimately open to all different types of students, which is to say we have students on our programs who have really excelled in the classroom environment. And we also have students who, for whatever reason, the classroom learning environment was not the best context for them to learn in. So we really do get a pretty diverse student cohort on our programs as well. And so in terms of programs for next year, I'll kind of mention a couple things up front, and then I'll jump into the slides that we have here to run through these specific program offerings that we have for next year. We've done a couple things for all three programs. One is that we've introduced a risk-free deposit policy. So whereas before a deposit to hold your place in the program was non-refundable, it's now refundable for up to 90 days prior to departure of the program. We're also offering a more flexible cancellation policy. Again, just kind of acknowledging the uncertainty that we're all living with right now. And then we've also made a number of program departure adjustments and adjustments to the actual program content themselves. I'll jump into the actual offerings. On this slide right here, we have our Latin America Gap Semester program, which we typically offer in the fall. This year, because of uncertainty in international travel, we've pushed it back to our normal spring departure date. So this program is going to be offered on February 6th of 2021, and it goes until May. So it's a 3-month program, and it visits 4 different countries. It starts off in Guatemala. It spends a kind of good portion of time there focusing on agriculture and homestays and language learning. Spends a week in Peru going to Machu Picchu, and then spends a good chunk of time in focusing on education in Costa Rica. The final thing I'll mention about all our programs that I forgot to mention is that they all wrap up in the United States. Because our programs have a really big focus on, diving into inquiry and challenging students to better understand pathways towards creating change in the world. We look at how change gets created on a number of different levels. So within farming in Guatemala, for example, it might be working one-on-one with a farmer to understand what challenges they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. But it also might be understanding the community challenges that exist there as well. The part of the program where we return to the United States, we start looking a bit more at challenges within creating policy and more top-down change. So during that final week of the program, our students return to the United States. They spend in Washington, D.C. They actually get to go to Capitol Hill and meet with their political representatives to share issues they're passionate about and advocate for those issues. But they also get to kind of travel around town and meet with representatives from different international development agencies. So the World Bank, the United Nations, smaller grassroots organizations. They get to talk to people who are at various levels of working for change throughout the world and doing some really amazing things. So it's a really incredible opportunity to actually get to speak directly with those people and hear about their experiences and what that looks like. So this semester program, it costs $14,500. That is an all-inclusive fee. The thing I mentioned, Erica was talking about what those fees actually mean, and we strive to be transparent with ours. $14,500 for our programs is all-inclusive for everything except the flights for this program, which is an additional about $1,500 for this program. So we try to be really upfront with folks about that. Yeah, Joanne, will you mind the next slide? Thanks. So this is our other semester program that we will also be offering usually in the fall, but in this case next spring as well. It also begins on February 6th of 2021. And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of overlap between this program and our Latin America Gap Semester program. Of course, it's in a different geographic context, and there's a different language component because of that. Our Latin America Gap Semester program is quite popular for students who are interested in really honing their Spanish skills. This program, of course, takes place in different part of the world, in Thailand, Cambodia, and India, but it has those two same curricular units of environmental sustainability and education. It still has homestay components. There's a really big cultural immersion component to it, but there's a bit more variety in terms of moving around to different countries and experiencing different languages as well. Next slide. Awesome, and that brings us to our kind of full year global gap year program. It's a 7-month program. It travels to 7 different countries. This program usually starts in September in the fall, but we've actually pushed back that departure date to November 7th. We're also kind of considering, our intention at this point is probably to offer the first components of the program domestically, and then kind of push back that international departure until January 12th of 2021, if it seems like when we get to November that is a necessity. So in a lot of ways, this program is quite similar to the others. It has those 2 same units of environmental sustainability and education. The difference here is that it also has a third of public health. There's a third homestay and cultural immersion experience as well. And it just offers a broader itinerary of traveling to 3 different continents. Having led this program as well as our semester programs back when as a program leader traveling with students, I think I just shared that the level of learning with this program is just much deeper because students are being pushed further outside their comfort zone. They're abroad for a longer period of time. And as a result, the level of learning that I've seen from students on this program just, gets extended that much further. Yeah, final slide, please. Thanks. So that's more or less all I have to share on my end. Our applications are open. We've extended our deadlines as well, just to afford more flexibility to families, given that current uncertainty that I know a lot of folks are feeling. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out via email, via phone, and I would be happy to speak further. Thanks so much. Borders, the broad category I use to describe the differences we see in students is maturity. Of course, that term can mean a lot of different things, and the different kind of subcategories that I see within maturity. One, I think it's kind of a broader critical consciousness, which means like an understanding of who I am, that sense of identity that Johnny was just talking about, and then how do I fit into the world that I live in, as well as how do I fit into these movements for change or issues that I'm passionate about. So what is the role that I, as an individual, play? There's kind of a broader awareness that I think our students gain as well, which has to do with greater level of independence, greater self-awareness, and then also greater social awareness. So kind of better social skills to interact with their peers. And I think the last one is kind of a greater maturity within their understanding of what the learning process looks like and the role that they play in that learning process as a learner.